Hey, and welcome to Headspace's Packcast. What's Headspace? Guided meditation for everybody. And what's a pack? Well, a Headspace pack is a series of guided meditations centered around a specific topic, like motivation or focus or sleep. And like a book club, we're going to trial each pack and report back with what we learned, hopefully finding new favorites for us and helping you choose your next pack. We are going to kick this off by saying that the editorial team at Headspace listened to the Change Pack this past week and a half. My name is Kelton.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Alex.
And that's all we got.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start with what I had been anticipating the Change Pack was for. I had avoided using the Change Pack because I assumed it was for changing a job or moving across the country or expecting a baby or something like of great change. And that wasn't what it turned out to be for me.
Right. I'm in the same boat. I have never trialed the Change Pack before. I thought it was only for big life moments, like you said, moving, getting a new job. I was pleasantly surprised. It's about a lot of changes.
Or even more so about releasing the ideas of what's fixed, right? So not just like massive external change, but also recognizing, just that we don't have to be really anything ever, forever.
Right. So on a smaller scale,
yeah.
When I started the Change Pack, what I was surprised by was that the first 3-ish days are really centered on changes within your body. Like Andy talks about just like focusing on sensations and movements, and as like a long time hypochondriac, I found this to be fascinating. I was like, oh God, I can feel everything in my body. But then his emphasis on not just when you start to feel things, but noticing when you stop feeling things was so hard.
Incredible.
So challenging. I was like, I swear to God, my heart was still beating. It's not beating anymore.
Right. Andy says it a couple of times in the first few sessions of just about noticing when you go from sitting to standing and standing to sitting. And, you know, it's such an obvious change. We kind of like laugh at first, but creating awareness around just those simple, like kind of reflex movements that you don't take the time to normally think about, it's amazing. And for me, it like kind of, you anticipate just every change like in your body, like if we're still talking about physical change, and it just kind of makes any, if there's like any physical discomfort or any kind of pain or just feeling tired, like you just kind of note that as just the change and it's not something negative.
Yeah, totally. Day 7 of the pack, I got my first ever real migraine.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. I've been waiting for this day. My parents both suffer from migraines, so I was anticipating that one day it would arrive. Luckily, it arrived while I was in their house. And I was like, oh man, my head really hurts and sounds are terrible and light is horrible. And excuse me, I'm going to go throw up for a couple hours. And they were like, oh, baby, do you want Excedrin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, oxycodone, Oxycontin? I was like, I just want a dark room. But I kept thinking of the Change Pack and being like, okay, that point of pain in your head or that moment of nausea, and kind of tracking those feelings over the course of like 10 hours of not feeling well. One was sort of like a game to me. I gamified my migraine.
Nice.
By being like, okay, I'm going to track this. I'm going to follow it. And then we'll see what comes up next. It was like little Easter eggs of symptoms. But it
very millennial of you.
Yeah. It's like, how do I gamify this so I want to come back to it? But the Change Pack did end up being like really, really valuable in terms of physical discomfort, because I was watching those feelings progress and change and kind of was able to reassess them as like your body doing the necessary work to recover.
I really loved Andy gives it's not really an analogy, it's just an example, but I took it as an analogy early on about when you feel an itch and you want to scratch it, but it's tempting to, scratch that itch. But if you just let it sit, it'll likely go away. And I really like that because that just kind of plays into just not reacting. And, whether a situation does go away or intensifies or just whatever happens with it, you're at least taking the time and getting the room to kind of step back and create some awareness about it. I read a lot into that example. I really like that.
Yeah. And then noticing that when you do step away from something like an itch, to then see it sort of percolate higher and lower and change within its own itch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
itch within an itch.
I feel like a Jedi when I deny the itch.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you don't control me. I control the itches.
I see you.
That's true. That is true.
So here's the thing that I kept getting kind of confused about, and I'm curious what you guys think. I often run with an analytical mind that sees pattern. And so if you're thinking about nothing is fixed and nothing is, or fewer things are fixed and fewer things are secure, I guess, that more things are in flux and in flow and in shift, how does the brain sort of start to map alongside the idea that all things are changing, but also we're prone to notice pattern?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think the brain is pretty good at keeping two alternate realities running at once, where it's like, I know that vegetables will cure all my health problems, but let's do another line of cocaine and a shot of tequila.
Right.
That sounds like what's right.
Right.
It's like your brain has this problem area where it's like, I know, but
also, right.
I think something that this pack kind of shone a light on that I really liked is kind of going back to the earlier idea of just anticipating that this change pack would be about big changes. And something really cool was that it's little things like, so when your mind is just filled with busyness, that's a change. That's not your normal, like, still mind. So that's change. So just observing, like when you're tired, that's a change. So just kind of looking at it in a 24-hour cycle, you notice how many changes you have in your mind and then also in your body. It's so many. If you really just create some awareness and like map it out throughout 24 hours, it's really crazy. And I think something about that gave me some kind of comfort, like moving forward, like it's all change. It's all crazy. Like this is amazing. I mean, not amazing, but I feel like I can handle.
You know how I feel about the word amazing?
I feel like I can handle anything. Maybe edit out that crazy.
No, we're for sure keeping that. One thing I did like too was that the beginning and ending of emotions, it's very easy to notice when you begin to feel angry or frustrated or stressed out or even joyful. But noticing when you stop feeling that
Incredible.
And transition into feeling something else. The change pack, I feel like I have to listen to the change pack on like the 15 minutes and then the 20 minutes because I'm now familiar with the concept of watching when my emotions end, but I am still quite terrible at it. And I think it's so important, especially if you get like a dick email and then you're like, I am angry, this person sucks, and then like sure enough you get another Slack and then like someone drops like a chocolate bar by your desk and like you don't notice that the anger ended, but it should be such a nice thing for you to be like, the anger is complete, how delightful. And same with like that very opposite, if you're experiencing a moment of joy, being aware of its exit, I presume would make it easier to stay in it a little bit longer.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when you have a sore throat or a stuffy nose or something, you immediately notice once it's there and you're like, fuck, I never think about all of the other hours of this life when it's just free and clear and I'm good.
Kelton, that was a very specific scenario you described. Did someone drop a chocolate bar by your desk?
Yes. Shout out Teresa for bringing a chocolate bar to a meeting after I had expressed sheer exasperation opening the chocolate door and there not being any there. Someone even told me that was an unhealthy reaction, and I said they were wrong.
It's all that change.
Neither expecting nor waiting for change. That sort of like remembering that it's it's ongoing, but also sometimes we kind of rely on it.
How do you mean we rely on change?
I mean that when things are difficult or when we want for change and we kind of like try to hang tight and be like, oh, but you know, this too shall pass, or any of those sort of more...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess I do have a tattoo that is like, things change and you should be grateful.
Yeah.
Even my own life mantra is, life is long and strange.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I should just change it to life is long and change.
And change.
Life is change. How do y'all think of change just in an abstract way? Do you look
conceptually?
Do you look at that as kind of scary, or it's like that's exciting to you?
I love it.
I love it too.
Okay, we're all in the I love it
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah, team change.
All right, that's the end of that thought experiment.
No, but why? Why do you guys love it? Do you have experiences of where change has brought different freedom or
Well,
delight?
my therapist really popped my bubble on this one
Yeah.
because I was like, I love moving across the country. And she's like, you're running from trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that's one way to look at it.
Endorphins
Sure.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at change just kind of as like, starting anew, all that cliche thing, all that cliche things, all that cliche stuff. It is exciting for me because it's like opening a new chapter. That's very literate of me. But yeah, it's just I'm optimistic about what's to come with that. It's like, all right, I've kind of bookmarked that part of my life, and then I'm moving on to something else, whether that's a new job, moving to a new state, et cetera, even just like moving to a new apartment. It's like, I don't know, I find some kind of thrill in that. But I have met a lot of people, and I've dated people that are very just kind of
Resistant.
It's stress. It just creates, whether they're aware of it or not, I can tell that it creates a lot of stress with them. And, I'm glad that change doesn't flood my body with stress. Well,
maybe there is something to that literary note. When I am experiencing bad changes in my, novel writing mind, it's like, oh, excellent. Here is the next like inciting incident in my story. Run right along on my hero's journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think this pack also gave me kind of new insight into how we can be active rather than passive participants of change, which is to say that like just by witnessing it, we get to be a part of it rather than sort of muscling through it or like thinking that, this thing happened to me and therefore I have to react or defend or whatever the sort of like more passive ways, I guess, of just kind of being victim to change rather than being like, I got this, I see it.
I think your body, you're expected to react in some way, or I can only speak to myself, but my mind is like, oh, like I need to like tag this. Like, how do I feel about this? Like, oh, like, well, I don't know how this is going to play out moving forward. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm maybe like a little like anxious about this. But I think one of the cool things that comes out of this pack, or at least for me, is that you don't need to react. Like, you don't need to react at all. You can just kind of sit back and let it play out. I mean, Andy said something along the lines of stillness is awareness, which I thought that was like really soothing. Just kind of, if you don't react, you're just being still, and then you create awareness, and then you can really just kind of move forward in whatever way you see like fit, and that's likely going to be a very informed move forward.
Yeah, I think that touches on the idea of how much we anticipate change and how we sit in that emotion, often negatively. Like, we have a new boss.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people would be really anxious about that and, just clammy hands all the way till their arrival. But knowing that change is coming, like, you have the choice to be psyched about it or to be negative about it. And having that moment of choice, I think, is what meditation has really brought to me in every single pack, is that decision leading up to what happens next is longer for me. And it enables me to be like, oh, this is probably going to be kind of awesome.
I agree.
One thing I did experience, back to the itch, I thought about this. So, like, we're talking about the first 3 or so days when you're recognizing those signs in your body that's changing, and you feel the itch, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to scratch it. I'm not going to scratch it. There was one instance where I didn't with my brain feel anything. Like, I wasn't cognizant of what happened, but my reflexes move so fast to kill something that landed on my arm.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like animal instinct separate from thought change. Excellent. There's like the kind of itch that your body creates.
Rejects. No
yeah.
matter.
And then there's exactly the kind where your body's like, it's a threat. It's a fly. And I went for it. And I opened my eyes and like full throttle just slapped myself and was like, oh, okay. All right. Back in my body. Good to know.
That's that monkey mind.
I know.
Protecting you against insects.
It's good for something, you know?
Have you guys noticed since spending time with this pack that you recognize change in others differently? Or that you see that other people are sort of amidst change or other... Because that's something that I thought was pretty great too, was the idea that giving ourselves the time and space to recognize that everyone else is sort of amidst it as well. Like, at least I know for me, seeing people that are struggling or dealing with difficult situations, I don't know, it kind of gave me pause that like they don't really know how it's going too.
Well, I think going back to Kelton's point about it's easy to anticipate change, and that can create some uneasy feelings. If you are so aware of change going on inside of you, physically and mentally, but then also aware of change going on in your personal relationships or just your day-to-day relationships, I think it's that anticipation just really just lessens, because if you're anticipating something that's happening all the time, then it's like, what's there to anticipate? It's like, we used to wait like 20 years for a Star Wars movie. Now they're coming out like every year, and I feel like you anticipated less. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but going back to your point, Jen.
I've never seen Star Wars.
But going back to your point, I think it's just all about, when you create awareness of that, people change, interests change. You have no control over that, like outside of yourself, and you even don't have much control of it within yourself. You just control how do you react to it. So I think what I've noticed is just, I hope, and as I revisit the change pack, I hope that it just creates more empathy, and that'll just be like an extra building block in like my little empathy tool belt.
There it is.
I'm mixing metaphors here, but
we'll take it.
You guys get the point.
I love it. Never change. I did it. Cool.
Do you two think you'll revisit the change pack, or where does it rank?
This is the third time I've used it. I love it. I love it because, especially for me, the idea that even if you experience an emotion regularly and you think of yourself as an anxious person, an angry, insert any other emotion here, person, the idea that that's not forever is like maybe one of the coolest things that I've thought about in a while. That even if it has been your experience thus far overwhelmingly, that, 10, 20, 30 years from now, something else entirely will be the predominant emotion or the predominant experience. I hope to keep listening to this one, keep thinking about that.
Yeah, I think I'll revisit it for sure. I can see myself switching pretty regularly between happiness and change. Anytime I think I'm dying, I'm probably going to listen to the change pack again and be like, this feeling will also go away. Excellent.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely revisit it as well. I think there's just a lot of stuff that in the 10 sessions that I'd really like to... I was hearing it for the first time, obviously, so I'd really just like to go back and reabsorb it. I think anything... any lessons that it imparted, I really just want to bring into my life. So I'll definitely be revisiting it.
How do you think you guys would recommend it, and to whom would you recommend it? Apart from all of us thinking that everyone should listen to every pack. Every people.
I think I would look for frustration as a place to recommend it. If anyone is just kind of agitated, frustration seems to me like, the quicksand of emotions. Like you can get real stuck in it and it really prevents you from taking action. And I think that the change pack at least will like ready that emotion for changing. No, but seriously, I think it can help loosen up frustration enough that you can see your way out of it.
No, I think recommending any pack to a friend is always kind of a loaded suggestion. It's like, hey, you should try the anxiety pack. Yeah. It's like, oh, what are you saying? But I think change, I think a lot of people would have the same reaction as we do. It's like, well, I'm not going through anything crazy right now. I'm not hitting my midlife crisis or whatever. But I think I would just nudge them. I would say, I'll give them a little wink and say, no, just try it. Just try it.
Yeah, here's my little wink. You guys want to start the productivity pack next?
On it.
I'm so down. I've never listened to it.
Me neither.
Sweet. Neither have I, and I'm stoked to do it. Well, that's our recommendation for the change pack. Thank you for listening to the Headspace editorial team talk about their meditations.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Later.
We need a catchphrase.
Go out and get some of that blue sky.